On a November morning in 1970, a father hiking with his two daughters in a Norwegian valley found the badly burned body of a woman no one could identify. 50 years later, she still has no name. She had travelled under at least 8 false identities, carried disguises in hidden suitcases, and scrubbed her own fingerprints from her belongings. This is the case of the Isdal Woman. On the morning of November 29, 1970, a man hiking with his young daughters through the Isdalen Valley near Bergen came across a woman's body, badly burned and unidentified. Isdalen translates roughly to Valley of Ice. The remote, rugged terrain made the discovery all the more unsettling, and investigators arrived to a scene with almost nothing to go on. An autopsy determined she had died from a combination of carbon monoxide poisoning and an overdose of sleeping pills. Toxicology found she had ingested between 50 and 70 phenomal tablets. Those particular pink phenomal pills were sold only in England at the time. The white version available in Norway was chemically similar, but hers were the imported variety. Investigators soon noticed something stranger. Labels had been deliberately cut from her clothing, and identifying marks had been scraped or scrubbed from her personal items. Even her sunglasses had been wiped clean of fingerprints. Someone, it seemed, had gone to considerable lengths to make sure this woman could never be traced back to a name. Police traced 2 suitcases she had left behind in a locker at Bergen's railway station. Inside were wigs, disguises, and foreign currency. More tools for hiding who she really was. As detectives dug through hotel records, a pattern emerged. Between March and November of 1970, the woman had stayed in hotels across Norway under at least 8 different false names. Among the aliases she used were Genevieve Lancier and Claudia Tielt, names attached to a woman who moved constantly, always leaving a thin and deliberately confusing trail behind her. The pattern of disguises, false papers, and scrubbed evidence led to decades of speculation in the press about espionage and Cold War intrigue, theories that have never been proven. Investigators at the time had no forensic tools to match the sophistication of what they were looking at. Within weeks, the trail had gone cold, and so officially had the case. Norwegian authorities formally closed the investigation in early 1971, just weeks after the body was discovered, without ever identifying the woman or determining exactly how she died. She was buried in a zinc coffin, a choice meant to preserve her remains in case relatives ever came forward. No one ever did. For decades, the Isdal Woman's case sat largely dormant, known mostly through local memory and old police files, without ever attracting new investigative attention. That changed in 2016 when NRK journalist Marit Heigraf and BBC journalist Neil McCarthy began digging back into the case, working with Bergen Police and Kripos, Norway's national crime unit. Their renewed investigation brought fresh attention to a case that had been cold for nearly half a century and pushed Norwegian authorities to take another look at the evidence. In 2017, that renewed effort led Interpol to issue a new notice on the case, an attempt to circulate what little was known internationally in hopes someone, somewhere, might recognize her. Modern forensic science offered a new avenue that hadn't existed in 1970, isotopic analysis of her preserved teeth, which can reveal traces of where a person grew up. The results suggested she had likely spent her early childhood somewhere along the border between France and Germany, and her teenage years moving through border regions of Germany, France, Luxembourg, and Belgium. It was the closest anyone had come to tracing her origins in nearly 50 years. But a region isn't a name, and the trail still didn't lead to an identity. DNA testing was also conducted using her preserved remains, in hopes of matching her against genetic databases from across Europe and beyond. As of the most recent reporting, no match has ever been found. Her DNA sits in databases, unconnected to any known family, any known name. Some later reporting explored other possible leads and theories about her background, but none of these have been confirmed, and no individual has ever been named as responsible for her death. Today, the case remains officially closed by Norwegian authorities, who concluded her death was likely a suicide, but no suspect has ever been charged. and the manner of her death has never been fully settled. Journalists and some investigators continue to treat it as an open mystery, decades after that Bergen railway locker and the false names in hotel logs across the country. The isotopic findings and the 2017 Interpol notice represent the most concrete progress in 50 years. Yet the central question, who she actually was, remains unanswered. The Isdal woman was buried without a name, in a coffin built to wait. More than 50 years later, in a valley outside Bergen, that wait continues.